Hello, grandchildren. Sometimes when I'm getting ready to start one of these videos, I think to myself, what am I going to talk about today? But I want you to know that there's no special order that these videos are going in. Maybe I'm going to jump around a little bit. But today I was thinking about my own parents, and I thought, well, maybe I should tell all of you a little bit about your great-grandparents. That would be my mom and dad and Grandpa's mom and dad. My dad's name was Arthur Walter Freitag, and my mother's name before she got married to my dad was Dorothy Violet Bauman. And of course, when she got married to my dad, her name was Dorothy Freitag. Freitag is the word for Friday in the German language. So that used to kind of be a joke around our house sometimes, that Grandpa called himself Friday. In fact, I think I've told some of you this story. If anybody ever told Grandpa that he was thirsty, Grandpa would say, "I'm Friday. Let's go out Saturday and have a Sunday." Because thirsty sounds like Thursday. And a Sunday, of course, is like an ice cream sundae. So if I said, "I'm thirsty," my dad would say, "I'm Friday. Let's go out Saturday and have a Sunday." He had an interesting sense of humor, kind of like Uncle Jim, my brother. He's got quite a sense of humor, although I don't always understand it. I'm not sure how two people coming from the same family can have such different senses of humor, but it does happen. Anyway, my dad was in the Navy, in the United States Navy, and he was on a ship that went into Bremerton, Washington, and my mother was out there in Washington. She had grown up in Minnesota, but she moved to Washington to help with the war effort. And when my dad came to the port of Bremerton, he went to Memorial Lutheran Church on Saturday night to find his church for the next day. And during the time that he was there, he saw that the youth group was meeting. It was called the Walther League in those days. And it was not only for teenagers, but for 20-year-old people too. So my mother and father met at Walther League. And then my dad came to church the next day. After my dad was done working in the Navy, he continued to work for the U.S. government, for the Navy, designing nuclear submarines. He was an electrical technical engineer who designed nuclear submarines. And my mother was a school teacher. She actually began teaching school in one-room schools in Minnesota as soon as she graduated from high school. But then she moved to Washington State, and she found out she needed a degree to be a teacher. So she went to night school at Pacific Lutheran University and got her bachelor's degree. And then later on, she also got a master's degree in history, which was quite kind of unusual for women in those days. So my mother was actually very instrumental in my love of history. And actually, she was a very good teacher too. She motivated students to want to learn. And she motivated my brother and I as well to enjoy learning and to enjoy school in general. She would do educational things at home, sometimes with us. She would always be in charge of Bible school at church. She would make up art projects to do there. She collected things for art projects at home, like broken colored glass and seeds and pine cones and popsicle sticks, everything you can imagine. She collected for art projects for her school and for Bible school, Sunday school children. So we had a lot of fun with that. The other thing that we did was whenever we went on family vacation, we used to stop and visit historical sites. Like whenever we drove through a state, we would usually stop at the state capitol and visit the Capitol building, or do other kind of visit other museums, that kind of thing that she thought might be educational for us, that mom and dad thought might be educational. Every other summer, we would take a vacation that was 6 weeks long, and we would drive to visit their families, my mom's family in Minnesota and my dad's family in Hartford, Connecticut, in that area. Grandpa and Grandma Nauman, as they're known to our children, which would be your great-grandparents, got married in Wisconsin And Grandma Nauman grew up in Wisconsin, in Shawano, Wisconsin. And I believe she worked in a shoe shop for a while, and she was also a beautician. She was a very pretty woman still is a very pretty woman, but as a young woman, she was in beauty pageants, and she was actually Miss Shawano Lake one year. Grandpa, of course, was in the United States Air Force. Grandpa Nauman, the father of your grandpa. And during World War II, after World War II, he actually flew a plane in and out of Berlin to help people to have food. He was in the Berlin airlifts. After Grandpa Nauman was finished being in the United States Air Force, he actually sold real estate for the rest of his life. He was a real estate broker, and that was something that he seemed to enjoy. He never really retired. He seemed to enjoy working and playing golf at the same time. A little bit of work, a little bit of fun. My parents, Grandma and Grandpa Freitag, they both retired. One retired from teaching and the other from working for the government. And in their retirement, they spent quite a bit of time traveling. Grandma and Grandpa Nauman also traveled while they were older. And of course, Grandma Nauman is still in Florida today, living in a very nice sort of home, a residential home, which is called, I think it's called Laclede Gardens, if I remember right. Anyway, we thank God for our family. We thank God for the families that we've come from. And we thank God for the new people that are in our family, and even the babies that haven't been born yet. Much love to all of you. Bye-bye for now.